Hey guys, are you staring blankly at your copy of Mice and Men? Maybe kind of stressing out about your upcoming junior cycle English exam? Feeling just a little bit overwhelmed? Well, take a deep breath because you are in exactly the right place. I know exam season is super tough, but today we're going to break down the essentials together. By the end of this study session, you'll have the high-yield facts, the killer quotes, and the big themes you need to confidently absolutely crush that exam. So, welcome to our ultimate study guide explainer for Off Mice and Men. Honestly, I'm really excited to guide you through this absolute masterpiece. We're going to ditch the boring, dense textbook reading right now and focus purely on what your examiners are actually looking for. The goal? So you can walk into that exam hall feeling totally prepared and ready to show off exactly what you know.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to quickly cover the context of the Great Depression, look at character dynamics, dive into the core themes, unpack some key symbols, lock down those crucial quotes, and finally tackle some real practice questions. Let's dive in.
Section 1. Context. Specifically, the Great Depression. Okay, to really master this novella, you have to understand the why behind the characters' actions. The world they live in literally dictates every single choice they make. The Great Depression plunged America into total chaos. We're talking 25% unemployment. Jobs just vanished almost overnight, which forced men to leave their families and travel completely alone across the country just to find backbreaking work on ranches. This kind of extreme poverty, it breeds deep suspicion and mistrust. Survival heavily favored the strong over the weak. In a landscape this utterly unforgiving, holding onto a dream was vital for survival, but simultaneously almost impossible to achieve. Moving on to Section 2, Character Dynamics, Friendship versus Loneliness. At its core, this book is really about how people connect, or tragically fail to connect, during incredibly hard times. We see a massive, direct contrast here. On one side, you've got our protagonists, George and Lennie. They share this fierce, unwavering loyalty. They travel together, they watch each other's backs, and they keep each other hopeful with a shared dream. But then, on the flip side, look at the other ranch hands. Guys like the commanding Slim, the marginalized stable hand Croaks, and the aging worker Candy. These men face profound isolation. It's a total dog-eat-dog reality for them, navigating a world filled with deep mistrust, entirely alone. Now, what's really fascinating here is that friendship in this book isn't just, a nice thing to have. It's a literal survival mechanism. George relies on Lennie's immense physical strength to get work and get out of tough spots, and Lennie desperately needs George's sharp mind to navigate complex social rules and literally keep him alive. They need each other practically and emotionally in a world that aggressively demands fierce independence. All right, Section 3, Core Themes to Understand. You want to think of these themes as the big ideas that your examiners are actively hunting for. Whenever you outline a paragraph, these are your anchors. Let's define two massive ones right now, starting with what is probably the most famous concept in the whole book: the American dream. So officially, it's the idealized goal of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? But Steinbeck actually presents it as this incredibly complex double-edged sword. On one hand, it's an illusion. It's a trap where plans constantly go awry because of uncontrollable economic forces that are just way beyond the character's control. But on the other hand, it's a completely necessary fantasy. Without the dream of working hard and eventually owning a little piece of land, life during the Great Depression would literally just be too miserable to bear. And this brilliantly illustrates our next major theme: the constant, brutal struggle between the weak and the strong. When society buckled during the Depression, dominant groups essentially scapegoated the most marginalized people to soothe their own insecurities. I mean, look at the characters. Crooks is intensely ostracized and forced to live in the barn because of his race and his spinal disability. Candy's terrified he's going to be discarded the second he's useless, exactly like how Carlson shot his old blind dog. And even Lennie, right? Despite his towering, massive physical strength, he possesses a profound mental vulnerability that society ultimately exploits and destroys. Section 4. Key Symbols: the farm and the rabbits. Guys, I cannot stress this enough. Examiners absolutely love it when you discuss symbols. It proves you have a really mature grasp of Steinbeck's craft. So whenever you think of symbolism here, I want you to immediately picture the most famous image from the entire story, the one that drives our main characters from literally page 1. Yep, George and Lennie's hypothetical farm, complete with that little alfalfa patch and the soft rabbits Lennie wants to tend. But it's so crucial to understand that the farm is way more than just wanting to be farmers. It represents an unattainable fantasy of paradise, safety, and plenty.
It is a pipe dream that acts as a psychological shield against despair. The constant repetition of the story about the farm, that's the exact thing that keeps George and Lennie, and eventually Candy, and even Crooks for a hot second, going when their reality is unimaginably bleak.
Okay, let's move to section 5, crucial quotes for your essay. You simply cannot write a top-tier exam essay without memorized evidence. First up, we have this profoundly observant line from Slim. Ain't many guys travel around together. I don't know why. Maybe everybody in the whole damn world is scared of each other. Keep in mind, Slim is the quiet authority figure on the ranch. His word is literally law. And even he recognizes how completely unnatural simple companionship has become in this harsh environment. So how do you actually use this to score points? You drop this quote in to prove that George and Lennie's friendship is a total anomaly. It perfectly demonstrates the deep mistrust and the every man for himself attitude of the 1930s. It immediately shows your examiner that you understand that allegiance in this world was considered highly, highly suspicious. Next, we have this incredibly heartbreaking quote from Crooks. A guy needs somebody to be near him. A guy goes nuts if he ain't got nobody. Remember, because of the deeply entrenched racism of the era, Crooks isn't even allowed inside the bunkhouse with the other guys. He is agonizingly lonely. It's so bad that he actually questions if what he sees is even real, just because he has no one there to confirm it for him. So, the crucial point here is using this quote to create a powerful contrast. You can contrast George's frequent frustration about being, burdened by Lennie against Crook's desperate, devastating need for absolutely any human contact at all. It proves that even though Lennie gets them into a lot of trouble, their unique loyalty actively saves them from the maddening, mind-bending isolation that Crooks is forced to suffer. And finally, Section 6. Junior Cycle Practice Questions. All right, let's bring this all home. We've covered the history, the themes, the symbols, and the quotes. Now let's look at exactly what your junior cycle exam might actually throw at you. I want you to succeed, so let's translate everything we just learned into actual exam prompts. Take a look at these two fantastic prompts. Number 1, hopes and dreams help people to survive even if they can never become real. How true is this for the characters? And number 2, the author prepares readers for the final scene beside the pool. Do you agree? Listen, everything we have just covered perfectly answers these prompts. The American Dream theme, that completely answers prompt 1. The weak versus strong theme, and George and Lennie's dynamic, that perfectly sets up the tragedy you need to discuss in prompt 2. And to make sure you get those top marks, here is a foolproof, step-by-step recipe for structuring your essay paragraphs. Step 1, state your theme clearly right out of the gate. Step 2, provide that 1930s Depression-era context so the examiner knows you know your history. Step 3, contrast George and Lennie's loyalty with the isolation of the minor characters. Step 4, insert one of those memorized quotes, like Slim's or Crook's. And finally, Step 5, and this is crucial, explain the quote's deeper meaning. Don't just drop it in and run. Tell the examiner exactly why it matters. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a really powerful question to ponder as you sit down to write those practice essays. Based on everything Steinbeck shows us in this incredible, heartbreaking novella, is it better to hold on to a beautiful dream that will absolutely never come true, or to face a harsh, brutal reality entirely alone? Think about that. Use the structure we learned today and go absolutely ace that exam. Happy studying, guys!